G'day viewers, Retro Man here, and welcome to episode 4 of Lost Movies from the 1990s. Today I'll be dusting off a fish out of water comedy that focuses on two cowboys who go to the big city. I think these guys were really well cast and they did bust their guts for the laughs and the action. And I'll also be taking a look at an action comedy about a hostage negotiator who ends up on a wild ride on a cable car in San Francisco. The Cowboy Way from 1994 is an action comedy starring Woody Harrelson and Kiefer Sutherland. They play a couple of cowboys, actually they're rodeo stars, who find their way to the big city in search of their missing friend. So it has a bit of a fish out of water element, this film. I think Woody Harrelson is just loads of fun. Kiefer Sutherland is kind of the more serious cowboy of the two, but Kiefer and Woody overall make a fun team. And this film, I think they were shooting for the stars and they had a good marketing campaign, but for whatever reason in the United States, it just kind of bombed. And they had some posters that I saw up in Australia here. I really did catch some marketing. The trailers made me chuckle and I was keen to see the movie. But you know what? They put the poster up at my local theatre, and when it came time for it to be released, they pulled the poster down and the film just didn't play. So that dud box office in America really affected its release in Australia here, and it's a shame because I really wanted to see The Cowboy Way on the big screen. So anyway, I have an affection for this film. I like fish out of water movies, and at that time, Woody Harrelson was really trying to make a name for himself as a big movie star. He'd just come off the bat of White Men Can't Jump, which is a fantastic basketball movie, and he'd also played a very interesting role in Indecent Proposal opposite Demi Moore. So Woody had been in a few high-profile films, and Cheers was just coming to the end of its run. So The Cowboy Way was a big test of Woody's star power at the time. It was a big release, but ultimately it didn't vibe that well with the critics, and the public, for whatever reason, didn't support it. And I think it's one of those films that eventually found its place on video. It's sort of a cult movie, not quite, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that enjoy this one. So it's one of those films that tries to mix serious action with comedy, and it kind of straddles the two, and the comedy just takes the edge off the seriousness. And that mix of serious action with comedy will work for some people, and others it may be looked at as uneven in tone. And when the guys end up in the big smoke, there's that mix of light comedy with crime elements. There's some really serious action set pieces. There's a strong threat there from the villain, Dylan McDermott, who really has a striking presence in this film. But if you push the plot aside, this is a film that attempts to work on the chemistry between Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson, and I think that these two guys click, and I think that the film deserved a little better. So if you've missed this little fish out of water oddity with Woody and Kiefer, I would say if you like those two actors, check it out, because you will laugh. There's some thrills there, and there's a great set piece at the end with them on horseback that really, I think, lifts the film in the finale. So laughs, action, good chemistry. What more could you want? This is an underappreciated film that deserved a little better. Metro is a 1997 action comedy starring Eddie Murphy, and this was a step in a bit of a different direction for Eddie. This isn't, a Beverly Hills Cop retread. There's a greater seriousness to this film. It is really trying to be an action cop film set in San Francisco, where he plays a hostage negotiator. Don't get me wrong, there are some signature Eddie Murphy wisecracks here, but this film is much more serious in tone. So this is a film that features some very interesting San Francisco locations. There's a great action sequence with cable cars, and this film for the most part looked really good on the big screen. I saw it in 1997 in the theatres, and I had a good time with it. Eddie's co-star in this is Michael Rappaport. I think the two vibe very well. And also we have Michael Wincott as the bad guy. He plays this jewel thief that Eddie kind of gets mixed up with, and he's trying to bring him down, but this guy is relentless and he will stop at nothing. So Eddie really has his hands full in this film battling Wincott, and it has some action, it has some really dramatic suspenseful moments, it has some little elements of light comedy, it has the banter there between Eddie and Rappaport. So I think this movie sails along well if you're interested in a cop movie that has some tinges of comedy thrown in. And Metro did okay business at the box office. I mean, it didn't do Beverly Hills Cop money. It did all right, and it's one of those films that is just forgotten about. I mean, at the time, Eddie was kind of caught up with those Nutty Professor films. The original had just come out. Metro came after the Nutty Professor, and then the Nutty Professor 2 came after that. So this was kind of wedged in between those, and some people at the time overlooked it. And I think for the most part, this is the missing link in Eddie's 90s catalogue. So it's well worth checking out. It is a film very much of its time. Eddie had his hair different in this film, but he's putting in a good performance, and it's great to see him play a different police character. So kudos to Eddie for really bringing it. This is a lesser known film that deserves your attention. Maybe that title, Metro, is kind of forgettable, but I've always remembered the film, and I've certainly never forgotten that cable car chase. So Metro from 1997, not an Eddie Murphy movie that's on everyone's radar, but one definitely worth checking out. So there we have it, another episode of Lost Movies from the 1990s. Thanks for joining me, and if you have something to say, please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd like to hear your memories on these two films. Did you see them in the theatre? Did you catch up with them on video? These are kind of lost. No one talks about them today, but I have an affection for both films. So share your memories in the comments below, and while you're at it, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you're alerted for my next episode. Until next time, this is Retro Man, living the dream, retro style. Stay gold.
Thanks for watching. Retro Man will return faster than a boomerang. But in the meantime, please check out these other episodes.